Can you hear me, right? Hello? Shin, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Yes, but very soft. Okay. Okay, thank you for joining us. I hope it's clear now.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Today we are going to share with you applicable knowledge regarding to schedule waste management today in today's webinar. We hope after today's training, you are able to understand the key concepts, apply your knowledge, and examine how you manage the waste system at your facility. So maybe a little bit of introduction of our company. SQC has been established for more than 26 years, in which we have been helping all business, small to large, public to social, and to private, to certify to numerous ISO certification. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your control panel. I will bring them up during the presentation and we'll also have time for questions at the end. Our presenter today is Shin Lip Yap. You can see she's here. Who has a background majoring in master's degree in safety, health and environmental engineering from University Malaya. Shin is currently involved in helping organizations in service, construction, manufacturing, and palm oil industry, especially in achieving ISO 9000, ISO 14000, ISO 45000 certification, as well as other management system improvement initiatives. We have confidence that her involvement can significantly enhance your understanding of schedule waste management. Again, from me, thank you for joining us. Even it is raining outside, I hope you can stay tuned with us until the end of our session. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Shin. Shin, pass to you.
Okay, sure. Yes, hi everyone. So good morning. I believe our participants here are from various industrial, right? So just a brief introduction for myself. I'm Shin Lim, or you can call me Shin. So I'm actually the management consultant and also the trainer from SQC, Penang. So today, for today's topic, I'll be the trainer on this schedule waste management. Okay, so if there's any question during the training, please actually write down your question in the chat box. So after the end of the session, we can actually have a brief discussion and a Q&A section to further understand about this schedule waste management. Okay, so if there's nothing much else for the introduction from my colleague, then maybe can we actually start our free training today already? Yes, okay. So maybe just let me share my screen, yeah. Okay, so if during process, if anyone couldn't hear me or you couldn't actually view my screen, you just highlight to me lah. Thanks. Okay, so is everyone able to see my screen here?
Yes, can.
Okay, so nice. So welcome everyone for today's free online training session. So our training for today is actually on this schedule waste management. So let me just put up my pointer. Yes, that is my pointer. So for today's course, we will have three main objectives. Of course, first thing is we would actually able to identify what is the different categories that we have in our schedule waste management. Schedule waste. And this categories is not like something that I create myself. It's actually from our Environmental Quality Act on schedule waste management. Schedule waste regulation. Apart from that, we can also try to relate and also apply the legislative, which is schedule waste requirement into our workplace. Further ado, we can also help to actually improve in describing what is our way of proper handling of our schedules in our workplace, which is more applicable to your side lah. Okay, so try to throughout the training, try to make sure that you absorb what you can and also brainstorm and see what you can actually apply to your company as well. Okay. So for today, we have four main topics, four main content lah, okay, or chapters, whichever you like. Okay, so for the first part, it will be a bit of introduction to schedule waste. So later on, we'll say what is waste, what is schedule waste, what we have in schedule waste and all this. Next, terms and definition, a bit on this legal requirement, and of course, how we can actually handle and also store our schedule waste, which we are using a more appropriate method to improve our schedule waste management system in our company lah. So first of all, introduction to schedule waste. So maybe I throw the question back to you guys. Okay, without looking at this definition, what do you think? How can you define waste and also we don't go to schedule waste first. How can you define waste? You can actually take any examples from your house, okay, or your workplace. Yeah, any example will do. Maybe you can have your own definition. What is waste? Or what is actually example of waste in your surrounding? Maybe you can just type inside your chat box. Okay, food waste, something to dispose. Yes, of course, it's waste, right? Rubbish. Yes, unwanted. Yes, I found one keyword, unwanted. Yes. Yeah. Okay, yes, of course. When we talk about waste, definitely it's something that we don't want it anymore, right, from our place. So that will be the most general and also the way that is more easier for us to understand what is waste. Okay, so first of all, we see waste here. This is actually the definitions lah, okay, that I actually get from our legal. So waste can be in any form, solid, semi-solid, or liquid, even gas or vapor. It is something that you would like to discharge, emit, and also dispose to the environment. And during the disposition, you will actually have potential pollution. Okay. So yes, our participants, if you have any questions, feel free to drop down the message in the chat box. But maybe you may need to yes, mute your mic so that we can actually proceed our training. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so that is actually waste. So now, talking about scheduled waste. What is the difference between waste and also scheduled waste from your perspective? Or anyone know what is scheduled waste? It's actually one type of waste. Or any example of scheduled waste in your workplace? Or actually, I mentioned what keyword already, which is at your workplace. Okay, so maybe maybe let me just describe a bit on scheduled waste. Waste that need to be disposed properly, yes, of course. Dangerous, yes, or we can say it as hazardous waste. Okay, so in overseas, many other countries, we will actually mention it as hazardous waste. Okay, but we in Malaysia, we actually name it as scheduled waste. Okay, scheduled waste is actually the term that we usually use for describing the hazardous waste. Yes, dangerous waste, chemicals, all this thing when it is starting from material, and when this material is become something that is unwanted to you, and because of that thing, that material itself is actually hazardous or dangerous, then when it turns into waste, it will automatically become hazardous waste, right? So for this case, we will mention it as scheduled waste lah. Okay, so in our definition from our EQA, schedule waste is any waste prescribed by the minister in the regulation as scheduled waste. So inside this regulation, there is one schedule, we call it first schedule, where they will mention what is scheduled waste. They categorize it. So next, scheduled waste. Any kind of waste that you can actually find in that list we call it as first schedule. So this first schedule, you can actually get it from our Schedule Waste Regulation 2005. So there will be a list of codes. I'm not sure whether you have looked through this schedule before. It's actually a list of code, and in that code, you have a list of description for the type of waste. So let me just show you. Okay, in first schedule, this SW that I bolded out is actually what we call the waste code. So we have five main categories in our schedule waste. For SW1, all the waste under SW1 is actually metal or metal-bearing waste. SW2 is actually inorganic waste. SW3 is organic. Now, the tricky part is here. SW4 it's either inorganic or organic. Okay, and SW5 is others. So now, first thing, when we would like to define what is our schedule waste, we need to know schedule waste is something hazardous, and mainly it's from our production area. any waste that is coming from our production area that is hazardous, or you can say any waste that is coming from our workplace which is hazardous is considered as a scheduled waste, as long as it is mentioned in our first schedule. So now, this numbering here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is actually the starting letter of the waste. And how they categorize it is according to the characteristic, the properties of the waste. So you need, usually, you can actually get the properties through the material identification. At the last stage, you can actually go for some lab tests to actually get the final properties of your waste. So now, usually, this is the general ways that we can actually get it. So now the tricky part is here, SW4. SW4 is actually a waste that is inorganic or organic, meaning that when that thing itself is not being contaminated, it is something neutral, it can be. So once this thing is contaminated by something inorganic, so it will become inorganic waste. When this item is contaminated by organic waste, this will become organic waste. So the example here, empty chemical containers. So chemical container itself, it's the container, right? So if that container is contaminated by organic chemicals, so it will become organic. So when it contaminated by inorganic, it will become inorganic. So for empty chemicals container, it will be dropped under SW4. Okay, so meaning that it itself is actually neutral, but the properties depends on what type of waste that is contaminating them. So this is actually the whole list that you can actually get from the schedule waste regulation for schedule as well. So as you can see, we can, for SW1, everything here is about metal and metal bearing. So we have batteries, lead acid batteries, arsenic, okay, our drawers, ash containing arsenic. So you need to, when you want to actually get what is the proper schedule waste code, remember to read through the description here, because sometimes it will be very tricky. For example, here, when we say batteries, maybe you say, oh, okay, all batteries are 102, but you need to check into details. What batteries is that? So if that batteries contain cadmium, nickel, or mercury, or lithium, then it will be a totally different thing. So you see, now, apart from that, if it's something under this metal and metal bearing waste, and in that waste it contains any mercury, you can see here. So apart from batteries, because battery is mentioned just now in SW103, right? So apart from batteries, so anything that waste containing mercury is under this one. So we need to, for example, some light bulb that you have mercury inside. Those usually we have lesser mercury for now. But if you have any waste that have mercury, remember to declare it differently from other type of waste. Okay, so this is usually what we have for SW1. So you see from SW1, we have 9 different types of waste in the first category. Oh, sorry, we have more. Okay, so 110. So, okay, you see this one, it's electronic assemblies. So usually we have the common one, 110, which is, we call it e-waste. And for the light bulbs, please be careful. If your light bulb is using mercury, please dispose it as SW109 Okay, so unless your light bulb is not, you don't have any mercury inside, then you can dispose it as any other description based on the specified description inside the SW code. Okay, so now for SW2, you see the description is quite long, okay, but generally it is something inorganic. Okay, so for example, you can see that it's a few 2001 to 207. There's total of seven type of waste lah, we call it, okay, in SW2. So sometimes you can't actually directly define or identify whether your waste is for which waste code, because sometimes the waste that we produce from our production may be contaminated by some other waste, correct? Any different properties of waste. So the end property may be affected as well. So it is good, it is best to actually look for professional to actually help you to define what is the final waste code for your waste, especially if your waste is mixed up and also contaminated by many different materials and also different chemicals. Okay, so this is actually more to the inorganic part. So it will be the properties of the waste. So usually that we have inorganic hydrochloric acid, used catalyst. These are examples that we have. So you can see sometimes it's not only liquid form, it can be in solid form as well, such as catalyst. So the third one, SW3, which is principally it's organic, meaning that you can see which may contain metals and inorganic materials, right? Meaning that although in that waste, it may have a bit of metal, a bit of inorganic thing, but generally the whole property is actually going to the organic properties. Then it will be considered as this SW3 lah. Okay, so usually you see SW3, we have quite a lot, right? Okay, 27 different ways in the third waste code. So usually we will see something like okay, oil, then hydraulic, those that we always use for machines, okay, especially I'm not sure whether we have our participant from food industry. So of course, food industry, the food waste is not, it's a waste, but it's not hazardous waste. It's actually under food waste. But hazardous waste is where you use some of the chemicals for your machines, okay? And this off-spec oil, hydraulic oil, it's considered as scheduled waste lah. Okay, so that will be a bit further extent to this food industry if we have our participant here from food industry. And then also you can see flux, span. So usually you will see some of these specific terms that we will use in waste category. They will mention span, use, or off-spec, off specification. Sometimes they will also use expired. So this is all under waste lah. So you can see they also have for this lubricating oil. So it's under this code lah. So for those that you have it for heat transfer, coolant, right? We have coolant. So all this liquid form that is used for heat transfer purpose, coolant, thermal fluids is under 327. Okay, so when you want to identify, you need to actually know what is the purpose of the waste, what is it used for, and you read through which one is the most suitable waste code. So for example, use coolant or use hydraulic oil. Now, SW4. SW4 is actually the waste code that it can be either inorganic or organic, depends on what is the contaminant. So usually we have so many waste from production. Now, if we have any waste we consider as a clinical waste, it will also drop under here, but it's under here, 404. Pathogenic waste, clinical waste, or quarantine materials, it will be dropped under here lah. Okay, so we also have discarded drugs, which is also dropped under here. So drugs there's a lot of different properties and types of drugs, right? So they put it under SW4, depends on the properties. So we also have alkalis. Okay, but in this part, the most general waste that I can say that all factories have it, okay, it's 409 and 410. So this is the most popular waste code and also the most general waste code. So 409 is actually use those empty chemical containers. And 410, our contaminated gloves, PPE, all this is under 410. Okay, so for example, if our chemical glove, the chemical that we are handling is inorganic chemicals, so it will become inorganic. So if it's organic chemicals, then the glove will become contaminated by the organic chemicals, right? So the properties will become organic. So this is why it is under this waste code lah. Now we also have ink, paint, pigment. So this is for the sludge. This is for the waste. So this is where you have like expired ink or off spec lah. Off spec maybe is expired, or the color is not that nice already. Okay, off spec. Now, if something from scheduled waste landfill, the leachate, which is the water lah, okay, the wastewater from this landfill, it is also under here. Make sure this is when there's too much of scheduled waste mixed together. You can't actually identify what is that already. Then they will go for this one, 421, mixture of scheduled waste. Okay, now mixture of scheduled and non-scheduled waste. So why we actually have this example? If you do not have a proper storage method for your scheduled waste, and you actually put your scheduled waste beside of your normal general waste or paper waste, automatically it will become scheduled waste as well. So it's actually a mixture, or you mix up the disposal lah, mixture, okay? Then off spec, pesticide, herbicide, okay? Now, okay, so if in your operation you have any laboratory, so if the chemicals is coming from the lab, you are not disposing according to other waste code. Usually, if it's chemicals that it's coming out from the lab, the obsolete chemicals from lab, will dispose it as 430, obsolete laboratory chemicals. Okay, so you need to look through carefully lah. So usually when you define, you need to understand the description. You need to know what is the waste that you are going to dispose, and also what is the origin purpose of your waste as well. So you see, 429 is actually chemical that are discarded or off spec. 430 obsolete. It's actually similar, right? But then the difference is 429 is not from lab. 430 is from lab. Okay. So some examples. For example, this one, you have diesel that is off-spec chemicals, okay? And use chemical container for 09. So now, last one is SW5, which is, we call it other waste. So for SW5, we only have one waste, one type of waste, which is any residue from treatment or recovery of scheduled waste. So usually, this waste code will only be used by those waste facility. Waste that is the residue waste. For example, you are sending your waste to a waste contract, your scheduled waste to a scheduled waste contractor, and they do treatment for your waste. So the residues from the treatment, usually they'll dispose it as SW501. So this usually will be used by the waste facility lah, okay? Now, so into this term and definition, so the general terms and definition that is related to schedule waste is actually mentioned in front in section A already. So if you have any question from each of the topic, yes, please feel free to write down your question in the chat box. So later, after the end of the training, we'll actually go through it and we will have a short Q&A session. Okay, so next I will go into terms and definition. I believe some of you are interested in having ISO 14000, or you already have ISO 14000 in your workplace. So when we talk about schedule waste management, it is quite related to our 14000 management system, because 14000 is actually on environmental management system. So when we talk about environmental management system, definitely we will have all these general description, general definitions. So later on, all the documents that I mentioned after this, we'll go into details. These are also considered as the documented information for your management system in 14000. As documented information is any documents that you would like to control or maintain, meaning that you have retention period, you need to control and monitor them. Okay, so all these records may be procedures that is related to schedule waste management. It's also one of the documented information for your management system. Next, performance. Performance is something about the amount, what it's the performance of your environmental aspect, whether it's improved, it's not improving, about the quantity also. Now, environment. Environment here is something that you can see, you can touch, you can feel surrounding you. For example, my environment here, I'm actually in a small, like a meeting room. So this meeting room is my environment. This laptop is my environment. Okay, so now environment can be anything, including air, water, land, natural resources, flora, fauna, humans. So for example, you have your colleague sitting beside you, right? So your colleague is also your environment. Okay, so now, however, when we talk about environmental management system or any topic that is related to environment, we will not too emphasize on human, because when you touch to human, it will trigger this occupational safety health topic lah. So usually our focus, it's anything except human, okay? And yes, we have human thing inside also, but just a little bit lah. Okay? And now aspect. Aspect is something that when this thing interact with the environment, or for example, you are using that thing, that will become the cause of the pollution. So it will become aspect. Okay? For example, you have used paper, they will become a pollution to the environment when you dispose it, or disposal of the waste. So when you have action to your schedule waste, you have produced any schedule waste. That is also one of the aspects. So schedule waste is also one of the aspects to environment. So impact is when this thing is a cause, and when it interacts to the environment, it will have certain impact. This impact can be a good impact or a bad impact. If you are doing recycling, then it will be a beneficial impact, which is good to the environment. So when you are disposing that waste, it will become potential pollution to the environment. So there will be impact. So I believe EMS system is actually quite familiar for everyone here. It's a management system that helps us to monitor, control our environmental commitment in our company in terms of reducing this environmental aspect, how we fulfill our legal requirements, all our risks and opportunities. So into section C, which is legal and other requirements. So legal here mentioning it's on our Malaysian legal, which is Environmental Quality Act. So for today's topic, specifically on schedule waste, it will be schedule waste regulation. So for other requirements, if some of you have ISO 14,000, you have 14,000 requirements as well. If you need to comply with certain NGOs requirement, they are also considered as other requirements that you need to fulfill to have your operation. So now, we first go into this 14,000 first. So in 14,000, if those that you have 14,000 in your workplace, you will know you need to comply with this clause, which is 6.1.3, which is compliance obligation, meaning that you need to know, you need to identify what is the compliance that you need to comply with, including any other interested parties requirements, legal, NGOs, customer, these are interested parties as well. So government body can also be one of your interested parties, also meaning that the interested parties requirements can be equivalent to, the legal requirements can be equivalent to interested parties requirement. And also next, evaluation of compliance. You evaluate. It is it is something compulsory for those that have ISO 14,000 in your workplace. For those that if you don't have it, or you wanted to actually improve your compliance obligation, your legal compliance in your workplace, you can actually try to implement something like this evaluation of compliance, meaning that when you identify what are the legal requirements that you need to fulfill, you take action to comply it. So periodically, maybe depends on your commitment and also your resources as well. You can do it every quarter, twice a year, or even annually. You try to check whether you are actually fulfilling all the requirements from legal or not. So you are evaluating. It's like after you have gone through training, you evaluate what is the understanding level of you for that certain topic. So it's the same thing, but this is shifting from training to legal compliance. Okay, so it's good to have this kind of practice. So now we go into this legal part. So talking about environment, our legal authorities is Department of Environment, which is this one. So this is actually the department that established and also established this EQA. So it is also the department that enforce all these environmental related legal compliance lah, okay, for your information. So the act that we have under DOE that we need to comply is actually Environmental Quality Act. So it is actually the act that help us to, the main purpose is to prohibit, control all the pollution, and also control waste disposal. Why? When you have development, we can't avoid to produce waste to the environment. It's like if you want to get something, definitely you will lose something as well, right? So also the same, if we want to have a better development, definitely there will be all kind of new and also different waste that is producing from us. So that's where we have Environmental Quality Act and our enforcement body to ensure that they monitor and they try to control all this potential pollution to our environment. So the head boss, okay, of DOE, we call it General Director. Now, in EQA, there is three common, usually we have these three big topics. One is for our waste, which is under here. So this relevant act is actually on schedules regulation. So when you have any air pollution, when you discharge any waste to the air, to the atmosphere, then it's under clean air regulation. So now, if you are discharging wastewater, then it will be a totally different thing. So for today, we'll be only focusing on schedule waste. Okay. Now, for schedule waste regulation, there is a total of 17 regulation inside. So generally, this regulation is under EQA section 21 and 51. So usually the first and the second regulation is about introduction of the schedule waste, what is the definition, the interpretation, all this. Now, number 3, notification of generation of schedule waste. So when you would like to produce, not would you like to produce that, because you don't hope that you produce schedule waste as well, right? So when you are producing schedule waste from your production, okay, then you need to notify to DOE, telling them that like, hi, DOE, I'm actually producing schedule waste. Please permit me to produce. Because according to our act, anyone, any person in our country is not allowed to pollute our environment, to dispose our waste to air, to our atmosphere, to our water body, to the land, unless permitted. So you need to have a proper procedures and also notify them that we are actually producing schedule waste and we would like to dispose our schedule waste. So this is the first step where you notify them, telling them that we need to throw our schedule waste because we are producing schedule waste. So in this part, it also includes telling them that what is the schedule waste code. Now, disposal. After you have notified them, then you can have the disposal. You can dispose your schedule waste. You can see in bracket here, I'll put like second schedules and all this, right? So later on, I will bring you through what is first schedule, what is second schedule, and such. Now, 5, treatment of schedule waste. So usually this is more to this facility side, okay, not to the generator side. Generator meaning that waste generator. We are actually the waste generator. Now recovery, now this one, special management of schedule waste, where I need to highlight. So now, if in your operation, you would like to reuse back your schedule waste for another purpose, then you need to actually apply from DOE, telling them that you have another way of managing your schedule waste rather than sending to the contractor, treating them and dispose to the environment. So this is where they put under this regulation application for special management of schedule waste. And 8, responsibility of waste generator. So we are actually considered as the waste generator. So all of us have these responsibilities to our schedule waste. Okay, if you are producing schedule waste. So now the responsibilities here, of course, to identify what is the waste, to have a communication to our waste contractor, telling them that, oh, this is our waste, proper labeling, how we handle our waste, storage of our waste, and also when there is any accidental spill to the environment, notification to DOE. During the transportation, when there is any accidental spill, we need to provide information to the transporter as well, telling them that, oh, you need, when you are handling the spilled scheduled waste, what you need to do, what is the safety precaution. All this is under our responsible as a schedule waste generator. Now, number 9 is about storage of schedule waste. So it will be like how you store it and also the tempo of storage. So please remember, our schedule waste cannot be stored more than 180 days, 180, after the first generation date. What do I mean by first generation date? Meaning that when you have an empty bin, okay, it's empty without any waste. Now, I'm throwing one glove into that bin. So today's date is 17 October. So this 17 October is the first generation date lah. So that bin, the waste that inside that bin cannot be stored more than 118 days starting from 17 October. Apart from that, there's also another requirement, meaning that if you have a lot of waste, okay, mean a lot of waste to dispose, or you are producing a lot of scheduled waste in a few days. So if your waste it's more than 20 metric tons, you need to dispose it as well. So there'll be 2 conditions. It's either first, more than 180 days. Number 2, exceeding 20 metric tons. Whenever you touch any of this limit, you need to dispose it. Okay. Now, labeling. You need to label the schedule waste. How you label your schedule waste. Later, I will show you an example also. It's behind. Then next, inventory. As a schedule waste generator, we need to always keep track on how many waste that we produce, how many waste that we dispose. We call it as an inventory of schedule waste, 5th schedule. So when you go through all this, you feel like, oh, why there's so many records? Do I need to do it manually and such, right? So for information, now we have an ISRI system already. So I believe many of you are using ISRI system as well for your schedule waste management. So everything here is accessible through the system. Even the notification of your schedule waste, you can do it through ISRI as well. Okay, so it is much more easier lah. But in the schedule waste regulation, they also have like this sample of hard copy forms. Some company, they would like to have another, like a hard copy form in their workplace as well. So you can actually do it both ways. No issue with that lah. But now we have e-Swiss already, so it's more easier for us to access lah. Okay, now next, information to be provided by the waste generator. So this is actually more to the communication from waste generator to waste contractor and the prescribed premises to our waste facilities. So usually, because we are actually the waste generator, so we understand our waste more than them. So usually the information that we need to provide, of course, the name of the waste, the code of the waste, the general properties of all our waste. This is what we communicate to them, as well as our first aid measure, emergency response are also one of the informations lah. Next year, okay, 7 scheduled waste transported outside waste generators. So now, usually when we are disposing our scheduled waste and we actually call our waste transporter come and collect our waste, right? We will actually, during the past, when we have the manual thing, we have like consignment notes, right? I'm not sure where you can recall back. Oh, there's one term which we call it as consignment note lah. And actually, consignment note is actually one of these important information, but many of them forget about another document, important document. We call it the 7th schedule lah. So this is also one of the very important documents that as a waste generator, we need to pass this information and give this document to our waste transporter, our waste contractor. So this document is actually a very, very helpful document when they want to do any action to the waste and also understand what is the waste. So this is what we call it as 7 schedules. So later on, the content that you need to have in 7 schedules, I will share it later behind when you go to the schedule part lah. Now, 14, it's about spillage and also accidental discharge. So when you have any accidental discharge in your premise, remember to notify to DOE, especially when you are polluting the environment. Now, if during the transportation there is spillage or accidental discharge to the environment, the contractor will help you to actually contain it, but they might actually get your advice how to handle that waste. So usually the information is they can actually get from 7 schedule. So this is why 7 schedules is important. Apart from that, sometimes they will just call you asking you, hey, actually I have this problem. Blah, blah, blah. How can I contain your waste? How can I handle? Do I need to wear specific PPE? What is the concern? Now, 15, about training. So for training, definitely we talk about competent person. So in your company, if you have schedule waste, you must ensure that you have a schedule waste competent person. We call it SEPSWAM. Okay, and it is preferred. Should be also a full-time worker of your company. Okay, so for DOE side, it's very easy to understand. As long as you have any type of discharge to the environment, you need to have competent person for that. So this is for waste. So when you have discharge to the wastewater, to the water body, you have like a monitoring system, treatment plant, wastewater and treatment plant. Then you need to have competent person for your treatment plant. If you are going to discharge to the environment, you have air monitoring treatment, you also need to have competent person for that system. So for ScheduleWaste, which is it's like a management of your ScheduleWaste, we call it SEPSOM. If I'm not wrong, the long form is Certified Professional ScheduleWaste Management. Need to check back from their system lah. Okay, so if you do not have any SEPSOM in your company, you can actually hire someone with SEPSOM, or you send your existing employee to get SEPSOM. Then 16 will be about the compound lah, about money. So usually the trend and how they compound for DOE. I believe everyone is interested on this topic, right? About money, right? So you see, when you have any offenses in your company, I take example. So now, when DOE officer comes in and they are doing spot check, they notice that, oh, you have label, you will label your ScheduleWaste bin, but the label is wrong. Or the information in that label is not, the information is not written inside the label. How they charge you, it's not like, oh, okay, you didn't label, so I charge you one time. No. For their case, they will charge per container, meaning that if they go into your place, they found out that you have out of 50 waste container, 50 waste ScheduleWaste container, 20 of it, it's without proper labeling. So maybe they will see, oh, this is your first time. Never mind lah, I charge you lesser, 200 ringgit. This 200 ringgit is only for one container. So if you are not complying for 20 container, they will do it like 200 ringgit times 20. That will be the total amount. So they actually charge by container, okay? They charge by per offense, per label, per container. So please be careful on that part, because that amount can be a lot. Okay. Now, so before I go into this part, to remind, so I found out our participants sent out a few questions. So no worries, later at the end of the session, we will go through the question again, okay? After the whole set of our training. Okay, so now, before I go into this 7 different schedule, let me just briefly let you go through the ScheduleWaste regulation that we have. So maybe I'll need to stop sharing and reshare it again. Hold on. Okay, so I hope everyone able to view my screen. So this is actually the ScheduleWaste regulation that we have. So in front here is about all this regulation. So you can actually, just now I just give you a brief summary on what is this regulation about, but you can go into details and see to look at it. So just now we talked about the 180, right? And 180. So here, so you cannot store 180 days and also not exceeding 20 metric ton. Okay, so another one. Okay, now up on top of it, it's the regulation. And below is actually we go into the schedule already. So this is the first schedule where we have all this description on all the specific scheduled waste that we have. So you can take your time to look through it. So maybe I'm not sure. And maybe I can just share it in the chat box also. So you can actually look through it together as well. Yeah. So this is actually the first schedule. So until SW5. So hold on, maybe let me share it this way so that I can actually jump from here to there. So now, going into first schedule is actually the category lah. So recap back, it's 5 different category. SW1, metal and metal bearing. SW2 is inorganic. SW3 is organic. SW4 is either inorganic or organic. And the last one is others. So now, second schedule. Second schedule here is actually on notification. So when you want to do notification, please remember when you notice that you have a new type of schedule waste, okay? So you need to notify DOE within 30 days. So, for example, now I noticed that I have 404, SW404, which is the clinical wasting, and my premise. So it's a new waste. So I notified DOE. I sent out notification to DOE telling them that I have SW404. DOE will, after DOE receive, okay, permitted, you can actually make it into one of your schedule waste. Now, after a year, I noticed that, oh, I'm not using SW404 already. At that point, I can actually choose to remove it from my system or I maintain it. So if I would like to remove it, maybe after 5 years, I notice that I have this 404 again, then I need to notify it again. If you maintain it, then you don't need to do another notification. So notification is only just one time, as long as it's in your system. So you can do it through eSwiss. So this eSwiss is actually the system, online system. You need to have an account to it. And this system is actually a system from DOE helping us to track all these schedule waste. It's more to like a traceability system. So when you want to dispose, you need to register inside. You need to you need to select also which is your transporter, which vehicle, how many amount. Yes, transporter, they even go into details until the registered car plate number. You need to insert all this information. So from their side until the waste facility side. So all this information will be in the system. So they will use it as a traceability side. So now, last time when we don't have this system, we are using hard copy lah, okay? This is actually the hard copy of our notification of schedule waste, where you need to write the code, your company information about the waste. You see, you need to write down the waste, sign, then you submit to DOE. That is actually on the notification. Now, next is on labeling. Remember, all waste, all scheduled waste must be labeled. No matter you are, this is actually a temporarily waste scheduled waste bin in your production area or the final schedule waste storage area. Please remember to label it. Now, there is a lot of type of label under the labeling requirements. Later I'll show you the picture also. So now we need to ensure that the label itself, you have a pictogram, right? So that pictogram must be a square and need to be rotate to 45 degrees. You cannot make it vertically or horizontally as you like, must be 45 degrees. And the size must not be less than 10 cm by 10 cm. Except you notice that the packaging is too small. If you put 10 cm, the label is too big for it, except for that case, okay? So for the label, let's see. So you have a few types of label. For example, explosive, when the waste is actually explosive. Even they have the color, you need to label it according all this requirement. So inflammable solid, inflammable liquid. Okay, so spontaneously combustible, dangerous when wet, oxidizing, organic peroxide, then toxic, infectious, corrosive, then miscellaneous. So all this label here, this is actually one of the main characteristic of the waste, of your schedule waste. So that's where we mentioned you need to know what is your waste. You need to, it's better to have a lab test if you are not sure the characteristic of the waste, so that it will help you to get the most suitable label. And this label, right, doesn't mean that it's only one pictogram. It can be two in a label as well. For example, if that schedule waste is inflammable plus toxic, so you have toxic and inflammable liquid as well, because it can be two also for that label. Okay, now fourth schedule here, it's about incompatibility. So for incompatibility, we separate into 14 groups. Okay, so incompatibility here means that when you are handling, especially when you are storing your scheduled waste, you need to make sure that they are not located together. It's like chemicals. When you store it, they will mention, right, okay, please store it away from oxidizer. Please store it away from flammable liquids. So also the same, when they have this specific characteristic, when they are actually a material, when this material become waste, they also bring this characteristic as well. So when we wanted to store our schedule, please, when we design our location, remember to look through this fourth schedule. Try to identify what are the schedules that you have in your place, making sure that they are not located in the same area. Or some schedule storage area, you have a drain as a secondary containment, right? And it's linked to one something. So make sure the drainage system is totally separated, so that when there is any potential leakage, it will not go into the same something. So now, how to read this incompatibility table? How can we read this? It's very simple. A cannot store with B. That's all. Okay, so you see we have 14 groups, right? Meaning that we have 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, 4A, 4B, 5A, 5B, 6A, 6B, and 7A, 7B. How we can read this? So we go to the simplest one first. So now, okay, my company in my production area, we produce a scheduled waste, and this scheduled waste is spent acid. So now, when I want to store my scheduled waste, which is spent acid, I need to ensure that they are not stored together with this group of scheduled waste. I cannot store it with lime sludge. I cannot store it with caustic wastewater. I cannot store it with all this alkaline. But then, please don't stop it at here. We need to go through the second group, third, until the seventh group. So now remember, your spent acid is group 1B. So after you look at group 1, you go to group 2. Is there any group 1B here? No. Okay, you found it, group 1B, meaning that your spent acid cannot be stored with all this scheduled waste under group 3A also. Because group 1B, it's in group 3B. I hope it's not confusing. I try to slow it down. Okay, so now we know group 1B cannot be stored with 1A and also 3A. Then we go to the next one. 1B coming again. 1B is also under 4B. So meaning that your spent acid cannot be stored with all the alcohols. 1B again, you cannot store with all these 5A. Okay? 1B again, you cannot store with this 6A. So I hope you can actually get that idea. So we start from the first group, second group, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, sixth, then seven. Okay, you try to look at the list starting from the first group, whether you have this waste. If there's no waste from first group, you look at second, then you look to the third, fourth, consecutively like this. Okay, so this is actually the correct way to read this incompatibility table. So this table here, you can actually get it from this fourth schedule as well. It's actually inside here. You can actually get it from here. Fourth schedule. So make sure when you store it, make sure you store it. When you store it, make sure you know the incompatibility of your schedule waste. Okay, so why? Because you can see that it's potential consequence. The worst you can see, it can be explosion, even generate of flammable hydrogen gas. So when there is generation of any flammable gases, when there's one spark, one friction, then whole thing will start to burn up. Okay? So be careful when you are storing your scheduled waste. Now, next part. Fifth schedule. So when we go into fifth schedule, it's about inventory. Last time we have inventory tracking manually, but now we can actually use eSwiss. So when you key in all this disposal thing, you can actually get into one, I think at the left side in the system, you can actually search for inventory. So you click into the inventory, you can actually print out the whole listing of your scheduled waste inventory. So if you're still keeping all this manual inventory, make sure that the retention period is 3 years from the date of scheduled waste was generated. So if you are keeping in the eSwiss system, no worries because the data is inside. Okay, so for this one, so this is actually the inventory. So from this, the information from the system, they also have this information. So remember this one, if you still keep it manually, 3 years lah. Then next will be our consignment note. So consignment note, it's a very in simple word, it's actually the tracking the document, tracking records. So last time when we have the consignment note, I'm not sure whether we have our participants here that go through the manually fill in time. We need to fill in a few copies, right, for our consignment note. So if we are the waste generator, we need to fill in a few copies for the part 1. Then we need to give some to the transporter to fill in part 2. Then the document will pass to the premise, which is the waste facility, to fill in the part 3. Then all this copy we need to keep for ourselves and also submit to DOE as well. This is last time. But now we actually have this e-consignment note already, where we can actually get it from eSwiss. So it's easier for us. Also, we need to ensure that it's actually kept for 3 years from the date where the schedule weight is accepted by the waste facility. So just now, inventory is 3 years from the date the schedule waste was generated. This is where 3 years after the waste is accepted by the treatment plant, by the waste facility. So the difference is here. Okay, so this is actually the consignment note, that the manual consignment note lah, where you need to fill in. Okay, I hope it brings you back all this memory when you're filling in the consignment note those days. Okay, what is the type of the waste, then the waste packaging. But I found out, right, now lah, we also still use this consignment note, but it's more to like supportive additional documents. The main one we still prefer to use eSwiss because eSwiss is the official path to actually record already for us. Okay, now 7 schedule. So 7 schedule is the document that I mentioned just now, where it's actually important, a very, very important communication document to our transporter and our contractors, our waste facilities. So we also call it, generally you can actually say it's 7 schedule, or sometimes we also call it as waste card. So in this waste card, we have a few information, few section. First, what is the properties of our scheduled waste? Secondly, how can we handle, what is a proper method of handling our waste? Third, when there is any spillage or accidental discharge causing personal injuries, what we need to highlight concern and step to be taken when there is any spillage of discharge. So from here, definitely properties, we can't give it like from our side, right? So usually we will approach lab, where they will take our waste and do some lab tests. Then you tell them, oh, I would like to actually do this lab test for my schedule waste 7 schedule. So they know already, then after they test it, they'll help you to write down the properties, all this information. So there is a few labs, quite a lot of labs that do this lab test for 7 schedule as well. So what is the important information? So now, first section, properties of our schedule waste. So they will mention first what is the category of our waste, what is it, the origin, the process of the waste. The waste is coming from where, for what. Then the physical property, the risk. Section B is on handling, what PPE you need to wear. Any concern when you are doing this packaging, transporting, or storage, how you label the container, appropriate label, method for disposal, how can you dispose. Then C, precaution in case of any accidental spillage or accidental discharge causing personal injuries. They will include, okay, if you have inhalation, what to do. When you have thermal contact or contact to your eyes, what you can do. Then D, when you have spillage or accidental discharge, what you should do. What is the step? How you contain. So this is all written inside 7 schedule, or we call it waste card. So it is important that we pass this information to our schedule waste contractor, because there will, from all this information, they can actually get a better understanding and clearer idea how we can actually contain, handle all our scheduled waste lah. Okay. So that will be the section C on the legal side. So if you have any question, you just feel free to drop down your message in this chat box. So maybe can we'll have a 5-minute break. So you can actually, we have a 5-minute toilet break, or you can go to toilet, or you have any urgent things that you need to settle. So we'll come back in 5. Okay. So 5 minutes, then we'll come back around 10:55. So hi everyone, is everyone back from your not too long but not too short break? So yes, so everyone is back because for now we are actually going to this section D, which is our last section here on handling and also storage of our schedule is. So from just to remind back, if you have any question, feel free to actually drop down the message in the chat box. So later at the end of the session, we will actually go through all this question and also have a Q&A section. And also we have another exercise also for the evaluating purpose, right? Okay. So now we are going to section D on how we can actually handle and store our scheduled waste. So, okay, so now when we want to handle or store, of course, we need to select the proper container. So this is where we need to know what is our characteristic of our waste. So this is actually one tips that I get it from my trainer when I going through the course. So they actually highlight you can actually go for this way of memorizing. They call it chirit. So yeah, the chirit from chirit period. So chirit here is actually terms that you can use it. C here referring to corrosivity. So when we want to select our container, we need to know whether our waste here is corrosive or not and how corrosive it is. So use this as one of the reference when we would like to select our container. Next, inactability, whether the waste here is flammable or not. So how can we contain it? Reactivity. So reactivity means that when this waste is exposed to water, it becomes very, very reactive. Oxygen, it becomes very, very reactive. So what is the reactivity of your waste? Infections. So infections is more to bacteria and all this. So usually infections is referring to medical and clinical waste. So toxicity. So whether the waste is toxic. So definitely the waste is toxic, right? So all scheduled waste here at FREE have this toxicity. So now, where can you actually get all this information, whether it is corrosive or not, whether it's reactive or not? First, you can get it from your waste card. Waste card, to recap back, waste card is the 7th schedule where you have all the properties, physical properties inside. So from there, you can actually help you to identify what is the characteristic and help you to select the correct and suitable container for your waste. So next, label. This label here is actually your schedule waste label. So before you dispose, definitely you have your label already, right? Of course, not the container with label lah. What I mean is the soft copy label before you print it out, right? So you know your label. So now in your label, you mention whether it's inflammable, corrosive. You remember just now that 11 label, that it's a few label that show you it's corrosive, whether it's inflammable. So this is also one of the information that you can get it to help you to identify the waste characteristic, as well as help you to select the proper containers. Next, safety data sheets. So wondering, do I have safety data sheet for your schedule waste? Of course, no, because schedule waste can be different from factories to factories. So this safety data sheets here is actually referring to your chemical safety data sheet, the materials that you use. Why? When you see there is a few waste code that it's showing you that it's discarded or off spec, right? Even though it's expired, if it is corrosive, of course, it is still corrosive. So you can actually get this information from your safety data sheets to have hints, roughly what is the type of waste characteristic that you have for the specific scheduled waste. So this is actually how you identify the waste characteristic, and it can actually help you in selecting containers. So now, also consider phase. What do I mean by phase? Solid, liquid, or gas? Characteristic is just now when we talk about identification of waste characteristics, Chirrit. Quantity, amount, is it a lot or just a little bit? Condition of the container, is it in a good condition or is it in a poor condition where there is some leakage? Then material, usually steel or plastic. So when your waste is corrosive, then don't use steel, use plastic. Okay, so this is example, a few picture. So you can see most of you, I think you have drums. Jumbo bag, I'm not that sure, but usually we can see drums lah, that is very, very commonly used for scheduled waste. So actually, we have a lot more types of container that can use for scheduled waste, but this is a few. Now, jumbo bag. Usually, jumbo bag is for solid, very big amount. Okay, jumbo, right? So solid, very big amount, and also you can use it for gloves, okay? But then need to ensure that your gloves is not like the glove that is still very, very wet and a lot of chemical liquids stuff, because the chemicals will actually accumulate at the bottom of the jumbo bag. Okay, but jumbo bag, usually we use it for physical, solid. Now, bulk containers, usually we use it for liquids. You can use it for solid as well. So both of these drum, solid, liquids, also can, no problem. But then you need to highlight on these materials lah. So if your waste is corrosive, please select plastic. Don't use steel. Okay, and for drums, they also have those that you can actually open it, open top, or some you can just open the small cap, right? So if you are containing liquid scheduled waste using drum, try not to use the open top, because the risk of having spillage is much more higher. So you can use, so it's sealed, you use the cap to open one, then you transfer the schedules inside. If you are using to store your solid scheduled waste, yes, you can select the open top, no issue for that. Carton box, yes, some of these waste contractor do accept carton box, some, not all. But then when you are using carton box, remember, please ensure that your waste is totally dry. Because when your solid waste here have some contaminated chemicals, it will be accumulate and also absorb to the carton box. So this whole thing will be full of the chemicals liquids, the scheduled waste liquids, and you don't know whether there will be condition issue or spillage happen. So, but then try to avoid carton box, okay? Now, carboy. Carboy can be used for liquid as well. There are also some company use solid, but we prefer to use liquid lah, because solid there's many other types of container you can use it, right? So you can also use it for solid. So this is actually a few examples of containers that you can use it for your storage of scheduled waste. but there are more lah. Now, when you are handling your containers, we call it management of containers. What to do and what not to do. So maybe anyone can actually share your experience on managing the containers, like how you can actually store your all these schedules container, what to do and what not to do also. Never mind, it's okay. I will give you a few examples here. Okay, you see. Now, the one in blue is actually like what to do. Red is actually what not to do. When you have container, especially you have liquid scheduled waste, remember to have a secondary containment. It's like a tray, right? So to ensure that when there is any accidental spillage or any leakage from the bottom of your container, the secondary containment can actually help you to contain, avoid it to actually spill through your production area. Always ensure that the container are closed. Closed is very, very important. Like those chemical containers, right? We always say, if I'm not using it, please close it. Also the same, please close it. Why? Because these schedules are also, this schedule waste here is also some of the liquid can vaporize also, and it will form certain gases. So try not to open it lah, okay? And also when you open it, they'll also have this very high risk potential to to have spillage lah, okay? Accidental spillage. So now, what not to do? More than 4 drums per one bag or 1 bag per pallet. Usually when we store schedule waste, we'll put it on top of the pallet, right? Because it's easier for us to move our schedule waste from our storage area to the truck. So now, when you are having this pallet, drum here is actually referring to this drum. So make sure you can only have 4 drums per pallet. And the bag is referring to this kind of jumbo bags. Okay, only one. Don't stack it on top. No, please no. Okay, why no? Because when you stack it up, you don't know whether there will be leakage from here, from the top part. So there will be a lot of mixing going on. Okay, so when you want to justify which one is actually put in poor condition, that it's faulty for your container, it's very hard for you to identify already. So next, stacking more than 3 down. So some storage area, you have like a rack kind of storage area, right? So maximum 3,000 V. Try not to have it more than that, because when it goes higher, the way of handling is much more dangerous. You have a lot of overhead work, right? And also the potential of spillage. The handling is very troublesome also lah, okay? Try not to do it more than 3,000. There are also a lot more what to do and what not to do lah, okay? So just now I saw that one don't discuss the original box that contain the scheduled waste. Okay, maybe we can have our friend here to justify it. Why do you think that is what not why do you think that it's not good to discuss the original box that contain the schedule waste? Or you can share on your opinion on this part? No, Zin, is it? You can actually like switch on your mic. You want to type it out also can, no problem. So we try to have like a two like mutual interaction now, okay? Not like I'm giving all this information. Meaning to separate plastic immediately bottles from before disposal. Maybe can we have our friend here to explain a bit? Because the original box had secondary containment. So it's like a good practice. Understand. So it's more to like a good practice thing lah. So they do some company they will do it like this. For example, I'm purchasing the chemicals using this carboy here. So for example, after I use it, then it becomes used chemical. The quality is not that good already, and the function is not that good. So I will extract the chemical out from my machine and dispose as discarded or off-spec chemicals, right? So they'll use back the same chemical container, this carboy, to keep the scheduled waste and dispose together also. There are some companies that's doing this thing, this practice also, but depends on you. It's more to the company culture and also practices. But we try to go for the most applicable one to your practice, and also try not to have more schedules coming out lah. Okay, jumbo bag. Because I saw it already, right? So then why I just tell you because we are still in this. Okay, so jumbo bag. Okay, why we need to for all this thing why we actually put it on the padlet is because it's easier for us to carry the scheduled waste to the transporter side. Usually they'll use forklift, right? Then they will take it from the padlet directly to the truck. And usually when they want to wrap it, they will wrap it together with the pallet as well. So it's actually an easier way to transport. But then it's not like you must put it on the pallet. They put it on the pallet is because it's easier for transport. Okay. So next, select of storage site. We can actually select on-site or off-site. What do we mean by on-site? On-site meaning that your storage area, it's within your factory. For example, you produce your schedule waste here, and your storage area is also in this same location. Off-site meaning that you have your schedule waste here, but you do not store it here. Maybe the schedule waste is too much. You need to have another big premise to store your schedule waste. So off-site. So now, when you are selecting a storage area for your on-site, please remember that try to be away from any ignition source, fire or heat source, direct sunlight, all this, avoid it, okay? Because this can be one of the items that trigger the scheduled waste and have reaction. Now, hill, slope, flood. Hill and slope. Some of the storage areas, some you can see maybe behind of the factory is actually a hill already or slope. Then they select the storage area at the end of the factory area. So you have it's gated lah. Although it's gated, if you do not have a very proper maintenance to the gate, we don't know, one day the condition is too bad, then the whole thing can actually drop down, okay, fell down. Then flood, try to avoid from location that have high flood risk, because imagine you store it, especially nowadays Malaysia, a lot of this factory location that have flood, right? So imagine you have this scheduled waste. Now, heavy rain, flood. So if your location is actually a place where have this high risk of getting flood, this rainwater will actually get into your scheduled waste. And because it's flood, right, your scheduled waste can be floating off to the surrounding, and everything will bring to the nearest drainage. So that's why we try to avoid flood. Manufacturing process, try to keep it away from your manufacturing process, because these are waste. So when that it's, we try to reduce the risk of any cross-contamination, and we try to avoid waste to contaminate anything from your production, because once it is contaminated, your material will automatically become a waste. And also employees' activities. For example, you have like a pantry area or toilets, all these areas, try to avoid it, because these are hazardous. So we try to make it not that easily accessed to everyone. Okay. Then offsite, you can actually select one location out of your factory to store your waste. But then you must remember, must be within the industrial area, and also must avoid flood area. And if you would like to have offsite storage area, if I'm not mistaken, you need to notify DOE as well, telling them that I need to have an offsite storage area. Because if you have an offsite storage area, you need to have transportation to your offsite as well. So you need to notify them. So storage design. When we have storage area and we would like to design a proper storage area, so it is good to have extra 25 storage capacity, because we try to go for something like this. Now, we don't know in the future, one day you have a very high demand from the market and your production is going up, achieve, maybe it's a production peak. So when the demand is higher and more production is going on, the waste will also be more. So we try to design it so that when there is a sudden boost of waste, we have enough storage area for our waste. So when we design, it's good to have extra 25% storage capacity compared to your original storage area. So make sure your storage area is covered, because we cannot have direct sunlight to our storage area. Containment. This containment here is secondary containment. Containment of 110% of the largest container store. So containment can be the tray, or some they will do it this way. They have one storage area and they will design the drainage surrounding the storage area. And at the end of the drainage, there will be one sump pit. So when there is leakage or any accidental spill in the storage area, all this scheduled waste will actually flow into the drainage system and into the internal sump pit. So this can be also the secondary containment. So when you design it, make sure the containment is extra 10% from the largest container that you have in your scheduled storage area. So you need to have a proper drainage system and also a separated drainage system from your factory drainage system. because we don't want this schedule waste to mix up with other things. Ventilation. So ventilation system here doesn't mean that you need to have a suction hood to actually suck up all these gases. No. Ventilation system here is actually telling you to have a general ventilation, a proper ventilation, so that there is flow of air ventilation in your storage area. Because usually when we talk about storage area, it must be always closed and restricted, so you will lock it. So if the ventilation is not good in the storage area, you may actually imagine one day you open up, there will be gas build up in the storage area, right? So when you open up the door, suddenly that gas is coming out and you are inhaling that concentrated gas. So that is what we try to avoid. And also when the ventilation system in the storage area is not that good, right? When the gas is actually contained in the area, so when it becomes too concentrated, you don't know whether there will be any chemical reaction or anything happening in that area. So that's why we need to have a proper ventilation. What I mean proper, it's just smooth airflow. General ventilation system will be okay already. Now, when you want to design the storage area, remember to consider how are you going to do loading and unloading activities, how you transfer your schedule waste from your production through wharf path, through which path, to your storage area, and when your contractor, schedule waste transporter, it's in your location, how they can actually take it, how you do the unloading. You need to plan it. Next, emergency situation. Can be emergency eye wash or any first aid, or when there is potential in case of any fire or spillage, how you would like to conduct for the emergency situation. So that is what you need to have one further further consideration when you would like to design a storage area. So labeling. So this is actually types of labeling as well. The 11 labels. So which you need to have it on the label. So this is one of the example of what we call it proper labeling. So we have this pictogram showing here. So I'm not sure whether you guys still remember. This is for toxic substance. So usually we have the name here, waste code. Now, waste name. Waste name here is not the description of waste that you can actually get it from the first scheduled waste, first schedule. Remember just now in front when I go into the introduction, I show you all this SW code, right? All this SW code have the description of all this waste, right? It is not used for here. This waste name is actually the name of your waste. For example, engine oil. We'll mention here. Okay, so the generated waste. Generated date. When did this waste first generated? Name of the waste generator, which is your company. Address, and also the telephone number of your company. So this is very, very, very important. So when there's any help needed from your side, so they can directly contact you from here. Make sure all containers, all jumbo bags, all bins that you are disposing schedule waste have this label. Because when you don't have it, so touch wood, when DOE officer come in, when they do spot check to your scheduled waste, they can actually compound you per container for this labeling if you do not follow it. Okay, now site labeling. you have a storage site, you need to ensure that you have label telling them that, warning, this is our hazardous storage area, restricted area. There's a few lah, okay? You can actually put restricted area, only authorized person can enter, danger, no smoking, all this label at your site. And make sure that it is located at the obvious location. What I mean by obvious, meaning that usually eye level or above a bit from eye level. That is where we can actually notice, oh, there's one label. Don't put it too bottom, near to the floor. No one can see it at that label. Visible and not blocked. Not to be too small. And try not to have anything in front of the schedule. For example, you have one machine that is going to scrap and you put it in front of the schedule storage area and it is blocking. So don't do it that way. Clear label, meaning that this label must be clear enough. So then I would like to recap back from starting from section A before we go into the exercise and also Q&A section. So from the section A, what is scheduled waste? Scheduled waste is considered as a hazardous waste that is produced by our production area, our company, our factories. And when this waste is listed inside first schedule, it is considered as scheduled waste. So next, how many categories that we have for scheduled waste? 5. SW1, metal, SW2, inorganic, SW3, organic, SW4, either inorganic or organic, SW5 is other. So what are the concerns when selecting on-site storage? Make sure avoid from all this flood area, fire, heat. What else? Slope, hill. Away from our employees' activities area and also our manufacturing processes. Concern when selecting off-site. Off-site, of course, we need to ensure we avoid from all this flood area, as well as must be within industrial area. Storage design criteria. We have a lot of design criteria. There's 2 number that you need to remember, extra 25% from the storage capacity and 110% containment from your largest container that you use to store your scheduled waste. Okay, this is the 2 number that you need to remember. Now, regulation that we use for scheduled waste management. So it will be scheduled waste regulation. So section D here. Now, what are the types of container that we can use for liquids? We can use drums, carboy, bulk containers. Okay, don't use carton box, don't use jumbo bags. Now, under this scenario, which one is appropriate and which is not appropriate? First one, not appropriate. Why? They stack it directly on top, not appropriate. Secondly, not appropriate. Why? Because it's actually at the heel area where you see it's almost at any time that whole thing will fall off. And you can see they actually stack until 3 levels. And this third picture, yes, appropriate. You can have this kind like a cabinet way of storing it, but not to be more than 3 containers. Okay, so now, so that will be the end of our free training section for our scheduled waste management. But then I will give you some time to do this exercise. Please scan this QR code and maybe how many minutes do you need? 10 questions or is 15 minutes okay for your side? Or you need to have more time? Maybe we can have 15 minutes. for this exercise, okay? Then we'll come back. If you have any question for this exercise, we'll discuss also. So in between, if you have any question to ask, you can actually put into this chat box, okay? Then we'll come back in 15 minutes and we'll discuss if you have any question for this exercise. Okay, so we are having our quiz, right? Examples of schedule waste from SW1. So what is SW1? Who can actually remember? Okay, a bit hints, metal and metal bearing waste. So try and see whether you can get it. From the first category, SW1, except which one? There are a total of schedule in environmental quality schedule waste. How many schedule that we have? Just now we have gone through a few schedule, right? So how many schedule that we have in total in our schedule waste regulation? Yes, 7. We have 7 scheduled in total. So next question is, below are the information of scheduled waste labeling except what is the information that is not required in our labeling? There's only one information that is. Aaron has voted. Okay, correct. Waste disposal date. We are not going for waste disposal, but is waste generated date. Okay, the competent person for management of scheduled waste in an organization is. So we have a lot of competency out there, but for schedule waste management, which is the competent person? So it's yes, the last one, step 1. So the a few in front maybe is more to the wastewater or maybe filter back. So below is the proper management of schedule waste container except. Which one? It's except. There is 3 proper management of container. So there's only one, which is not the proper one. Which is, yes, make sure containers are open. We need to ensure that the containers are always closed. So next question, labeling of schedule is not necessary. Yes, no, maybe, or depends on the amount of scheduled waste. Labeling of scheduled waste, is it necessary or not? What do you think? Yes, no, maybe, or depends. So is not necessary, which is false, which is necessary. The responsibility of schedule waste generator are stated in regulation. Which statement? Who can remember that? 4, 6, 8, or 10? Okay. Next, below is the storage design criteria of schedule waste, except. Which one is except? Remember the 2 amount that I mentioned just now, the 2 number? Yes, except the correct one is not 10, it's 25. So let's see the leaderboards who got the highest point. Yes, congrats, Haja. You got, oh my God, 9,693. But, oh, others is also, almost there, but well done, everyone. Well done, well done. Congrats, Haja. Okay, so thank you very much for participating. The our e-game lah. Okay, so I am glad that you guys can actually capture all this information and can quickly answer it through the e-game. Although it's, you know, when coming to this e-game, we need to react very, very fast, right? Okay. So yeah, Haja, remember to send us your email address so that my team can actually share the information to you. So thank you very much, but everyone is well done, very good. I didn't expect that. Wow, so many answered correctly, almost all these questions. Okay, so now we go to the, I believe the quiz section is ended, okay? So maybe we can go through the exercises, the few exercises that you answered just now. So from throughout this, I think it's 10 questions, right? So any question that you would like to have further discussion or you're not sure why your answer is wrong, you can actually highlight it out so that we can have a further discussion in our training section here also. So maybe just let me try to share my screen so that I can actually show you the, hold on, yeah, let me just switch off my pointer. Hold on, let me just open up my exercise. Let's see. So starting from the first one, anyone face any issue from starting from the first one? So anything that you would like to discuss from here? If no, then we will continue to our Q&A section. No, no, no. Everyone is good with this? Okay, sure, nice. Okay, so now, then we will continue with our Q&A section. So let me just drag my conversation to top part. Okay, starting from the first one. I would like to ask for the scheduled waste collection by government. I did apply in ISWI's website, but it was rejected by them. After that, I reapplied, but until now, still didn't get any updates on that. Okay, first of all, what the one that you apply means that you send out notification, is it, or how? Our friend, what is the name? Ida Singh. Or you can actually switch on your mic as well so that we can have a better clarification on this side. Do you mean by your notification or you want to dispose, at a point you want to dispose the waste? To dispose, meaning that you already dispose, you already notified it, is it? Okay, so usually what I know is that the disposal is not through government, it's through the third-party contractors. So you need to search for the third-party contractors out there and you get their quotation and all this, then you communicate with them on when you want to dispose. So at the point when you want to dispose, ISWIS is just to give you a platform to insert the information and also communication platform to tell government officially, I'm going to dispose this and through this transporter. So what you need to do is to contact your desired contractor lah, your scheduled waste transporter and also scheduled waste facilities. Okay, so you can actually communicate with them, tell them, okay, we would like to dispose this waste. Then you can do it that way lah. Okay, is it clear for your side on this part? Okay, Thank you. So next part. Let me drag back. Okay. Notified to DOE if we generate waste. Okay, notification is like this. For example, I have this is my new company. And now throughout the production, I'm actually producing scheduled waste. So I'm telling DOE, I'm going to notify you that I have scheduled waste. For example, 104. So once you notify, every time when you want to dispose, you no need to notify DOE. What you need to do is just communicate with the transporter and you update the information. So you can actually notify through eSwiss. eSwiss itself is their internal system. You can directly send out through the system. But if you notice that they are not responding or anything, you can actually call or actually email to them. But you can actually first thing go through eSwiss because eSwiss have all this information to do this. Okay, the next part. Okay, I would like to ask, what if the situation is like the waste generated is very less within 180 due to low? Okay, so now this is one very hot topic when we have like schedule wasting. So last time when I go to training, I also asked my trainer, hey, there's some company, really they don't produce this much of schedule waste. And when you want to dispose, it's a cost, right? Where you need the transporter come. And with this little bit of waste, they also don't want to come, right? So usually, if you face this issue that one thing, it's too less. You need to actually store it more than 180 days, or the production, the scheduled waste produced is too much. For example, in a day, it's more than 20 metric tons. What you can do is you have a communication with DOE, tell them you have this situation, get approval and exemption from them so that you can actually store more than 20 metric tons or store more than 180 days. This is the way that you can do it. Okay, I hope for that part about the storage for more than 20 metric tons and also more than 180 days is clear. Okay. Next, so for those labor, right, when you go through the 7 schedule, you can try to ask them. And also sometimes you can actually try to get some information from these contractors as well. They may have it so that you can actually get it, or you can try to search it from online through their official website lah. Sometimes you can actually purchase the sticker as well, but purchasing sticker it's a bit high cost lah. Okay, so you can actually see how to get the soft copy. Then you directly print out the soft copy and paste it every time you use it. That is for the labeling part lah. Okay, okay, it's another same question like exceeding 20 metric tons or less than 180 days, right? Yes. So when we have something like sludge coming in where we link to this wastewater industrial effluent, when we have wastewater treatment plant, definitely there will be some sludge coming out. So this sludge maybe you need to dispose as scheduled waste or normal waste. So you need to have a very clear identification. What is the property of this sludge? And even you need to notify DOE also that, okay, we have this thing. Can we actually dispose as a non-scheduled waste if you think that if from the lab is showing that it's not hazardous. So if it's not hazardous, then you can actually get approval from DOE as well to see whether you can actually dispose as a general waste. But be careful, because when you get approval doesn't mean that it's one time. Maybe DOE may request you to have monitoring on your sludge, meaning that maybe they ask you, oh, every year you need to do lab tests to all your this waste to show that yes, it is totally not hazardous. It's a monitoring thing, okay? So when you get no matter a scheduled waste topic or clean air topic or any wastewater topic, when you get any notification or approval or exemption from DOE, they will have like a reply letter to you. Please read, be careful. Behind, DOE may mention any special requirement to your company, whether you need to have any submission or any continuous monitoring. So yeah, take note on that. Please read properly the reply letter from DOE. Okay, our friend here, Siti Nova Kira. Okay, maybe can you describe a bit this waste is coming from what production and it's for what purpose? Hmm. Yeah, can you explain a bit the waste that you mentioned, right? The agar waste. So can you like describe a bit what is the production going on? How is this waste being produced? How you actually treat it? And what is the reasoning behind that you think that you can that you think that it's okay to dispose as general waste? Because we need to have a general idea. Because when we talk about scheduled waste, right, we need to know the purpose and the waste is coming from where. So this is a significant point. So maybe you need your help to describe a bit on this waste, about this waste. You can actually switch on your mic. You are okay with that? Okay, we tested E. coli after they have grown. So, is it used for laboratory purpose or what is the main thing? Laboratory, is it for laboratory lab work, is it? Lab work. Okay. So maybe it will be considered under obsolete chemical, obsolete laboratory chemicals. Okay, because firstly, we are not sure whether the waste that you dispose is hazardous level at the property. So the best way to identify and also to have more firm support evidence is first you send to lab test first. So get the advice from the lab on 7 schedule. Remember, the lab test is 7 schedule. To get the 7 schedule analysis. So from there, then you can get the information to see whether it's hazardous or not, and whether to dispose as scheduled waste or general waste. because from my understanding here, this is actually something from, although it's not from production, but it's actually from your lab operation. So we don't know whether this waste here is hazardous or not, because we are not in that situation. So the first thing is to justify whether it's hazardous or not. If it's hazardous, then you need to dispose as a scheduled waste. If it's not hazardous, then no issue with that. Okay, I hope it's quite clear from your side. Okay, so go to the next part. For pharmaceutical dosage form supplement like capsule, do we need to separate its bottle packaging and film material in different before the disposal, or we can only put in complete finished good for disposal? Okay, so usually for this kind of we call it like solid thing, the container of disposal usually can be any kind of container. Like this capsules, sometimes they even put it into one big carton box, then they send it for disposal. But the thing is, when we talk about the container, the packaging materials, you need to have further communication with your transporter and waste facilities whether they wanted to accept that container or not, because from so far from what I know, some waste contractor, they will choose and they will say, I don't accept when you put it in this form. I want you to actually dispose in another packaging form. So you may need to have further communication with your waste contractor on the disposing method and also the packaging lah. Okay, so because if it's solid, no much different. But then if it's something related to liquids or gel form, where you may have liquid thing coming out, it's better to go for drum lah. Okay, so also depends on the property. So usually plastic or steel. If it's not corrosive, then we go for steel, or steel and plastic will be okay. If it's corrosive, only go for plastic. So usually the most common one is by using drum. But like you see capsules, right? It's very, very small. So if you are using drum, maybe it's too big also. So it's better to have further communication with your transporter and also your waste facilities lah. What is the type of container that they can accept? Okay. I hope this is clear for your side. Okay, is it okay to have saw outside of the plant, like outside the fence of the plant? Meaning that you have your premise, then you store it, then you have a guard post, right? Your main door, and you store it outside, is it? What is the name? Janagaran. Is it Janagaran? Is Janagaran here? I need to have like a further class
Yes,
clarification. Yes, hi.
Hi.
Yes. What do you mean by outside the plant? Is it like beside the road?
Come again? Hold on, I can't hear you. Hold on.
Okay.
Come again?
Okay, you mentioned that is it okay to store outside of the plant, right? Meaning that is it like outside your compound beside the road, or how?
Is it the question is from me?
Yeah.
I
You can't record it, is it?
wait, let me check where I put it there. Oh, the previous one, is it?
Yeah, I think it's about the off-site and also on-site storage area. You mentioned, is it okay to have store outside of the plant, like outside of the fence of plant?
Yeah, example, yeah, correct. Is it legally okay if let's say we storage that is outside of it's not inside our company compounding, it's outside of our company compounding.
Okay, first of all, we don't talk about schedule waste first.
Yeah.
I think the local authorities won't allow that also lah, because that is a public area.
Okay.
Then
Even though the example we have car
Mhm.
park, but the car park it is belong to us lah. But the car park is out from premises, it's just in front of our company.
Is
So
it in your address, like owned
no
by
no no
your
no
company?
no not in our legal address. It's car park is out of that.
Then I don't suggest you to do that lah, because that one considered as a public area already. It's not your location.
So we still need to that is still is not accepted lah.
I think for that part, or maybe DOE won't trigger you, but the local authorities will trigger you lah.
Oh, local authority means like MPSP, all this.
Yes.
Okay.
Because DOE will only trigger when you have inappropriate storage. So for example, it's outside, it's very good maintenance, very good design. So they don't have the act or regulation to charge you, to give you summon, because it's not their scope. So this is more to the local authority scope already.
Okay, understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. For the date generated in waste card, do I need to write down the range of date, or just like example? Okay, for the date generated, it's not the range of date. So it's the date where you throw, the exact day where you throw one glove into that bin. Okay, so it will be not the range, but only one date. One of the first day where you start to throw and use the bin as a schedule waste. So I hope it's clear.
Yes, clear.
Okay. Next question. Sorry, I'm a bit slow because I need to scroll up. Okay. Okay, jumbo bag. Just now we discussed about jumbo bag already. Okay, can you briefly explain the whole process for us to apply collection of scheduled waste? Firstly, make sure it's notified in. Then we contact the third party regarding to arrange a date. Okay, first you need to have an account from eSwiss, and from there you need to notify through the notification to DOE telling them that you have scheduled waste to dispose. Next, you can directly look for the third party transporter and waste facility. Okay, then you communicate with them, appoint them as your waste facilities. So when you put inside the data, you can actually, in that eSwiss, you don't need to do any registration anymore. So when, for example, today, I would like to get my transporter to come and collect. So I will log into my eSwiss account, then I will insert what is the waste code, what is the weight of the waste that I would like to dispose, which company is this. If it's transporter, you need to select its transporter, which car plate or the car plate number that it's using for the transportation. Because you no need to help them to register, is because all this they also have an account in eSwiss already. So it's automatically in the database. So what you need to do is just you appoint them already. Then when you want to dispose, click, submit. That will be lah. Then the arranging of the transportation will be between you and the transporter lah. You tell them, okay, now we have this much of waste. I would like to dispose. From your opinion, I can actually dispose every week or every month. Then usually what time you come and collect my waste? Remember, then they will give you quotation also lah, because when you want to dispose waste, you need to pay. Okay. So when you insert all this information, automatically all this consignment note will be generated inside when you submit it. So consignment note can be a lot of copies. For example, you have 10, if you dispose 10 times, you have 10 copies of consignment note. Yeah, you just tell them you want to dispose, then they will give you all this information. Then you just need to insert inside eSwiss, telling to notify to have a record in eSwiss account to show that you are disposing this waste. Through what company, through which transporter, through which truck. Okay, and also remember to get their permit, their waste transporter permit, because for all waste facilities, waste transporter, they will need to get a permit from DOE. DOE will issue them a permit so that they can transport and dispose and also treat scheduled waste. So remember to take that copy and keep it at your site. Is it okay if we reuse our chemical bottle to store the waste? Yeah, no problem. You can, after you purchase the chemicals, right? For example, I purchased one big bottle. I'm not sure whether you can see it. So after I use it, the discarded chemicals, I put it inside back to this container and I dispose to scheduled waste facilities. No problem with that, because it's the same thing. Now, but then when you want to reuse back the container for your production purpose, it's not for the waste purpose. So it's called it special management already. So you need to get application and permit approval from DOE lah. That is different, totally different topic already. But for your case, you want to reuse your chemical bottle and to put back the waste to this waste facility, no issue for that. Okay, so I hope it's clear. So I think there is no more question, right? So if no, then I will pass it back to my colleague, Raisha. So before that, we will have a group photo session. So everyone who can actually have a quick touch up or makeup, make yourself look pretty and handsome, then switch on the camera, then we can actually have a group photo together. Okay, so maybe Rasha, are you going to do the screenshot for us? Where's my colleague? Where is she? I couldn't find her. Okay, no problem. Raisha, who will do the capturing of picture? Okay, everyone, fast. Okay, get ready, everyone. Show your pretty and handsome face. Okay, maybe I will, let's see, how can we communicate? Maybe I will say 3, 2, 1, then my colleague will help to capture. Is it okay? definitely need someone to say 3, 2, 1, right? Okay. So I think Henry is controlling, is it? Henry or Raisha is controlling? Raisha, can you help to take the picture? Okay. Then I will say.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
Okay. Then I will
Okay,
say
ready,
3, 2, 1.
everyone. Okay. Okay. 3, 2, 1, smile.
Latihan apa ni? Okey. So,
Okay, thank
saya
you.
tak ada kiraan, cuma ada kita.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for this wonderful few hours free training session. Okay, so we have a few link. I think there's some link on our chat box also. So if you would like, furthermore, I think we have a few more trainings. Maybe can my team help to display? Yeah. I think we have a few more training session after this. Where is it? So if you would like to register for our training, you can actually register it or can contact our team. And also for today's training notes, you can actually scan this, and I think they will share you this training note through this QR code lah. So if you need it, remember to scan it. Okay, so yes, so if that case, thank you very much, everyone, for this wonderful few hours training, and thank you for your cooperation throughout the training also. Okay,
Thank you.
so,
Bye.
okay, thank you.